folks, Pat that Halloween movie collector back with another of my favorite 10 albums from the 70s. This time around we're doing 1978. Great year for music, a great year as a Kiss fan. You had 4 solo albums. What I am going to say here is I didn't include the solo albums in here. I did solo albums ranking a while back on this channel. So I feel let me just leave that off the table because it's just it's going to eat up 4 spots. Ranking where they all fit in there because they are part of my favorite albums of that year, all in different order, obviously. So I left the Kiss solo albums off of this. Go check it out. I have a link up here. You can check out my ranking of the Kiss solo albums. But this year, another eclectic mix of music on this list because there was a lot of stuff from different genres that I really liked. But before we get into my top 10, let's mention some honorable mentions here because this was a year stacked with some really good albums, and it was tough to narrow it down to just 10. And before people start complaining, oh, why didn't you have this on your list? You should have had this on this. You left this off your list. No, I left everything on this list that is my favorite. Throw your favorite in the comments below and let me know what your favorite is. But here's some honorable mentions that I couldn't fit in my top 10. A lot of great stuff there. Like I said, this top 10s are not easy. Top 20s, much easier because I probably could have fit all those in here. But I digress. And we'll start with number 10. Released on June 6, 1978. My number 10, The Cars' debut album, The Cars. Now, The Cars, whether you like The Cars or not, pop rock, punk, however you want to fit them in there, this album is just stacked with radio classics and songs that most people, even if you're not a fan of The Cars, you know these songs. You know, from Just What I Needed, My Best Friend's Girlfriend. If you're a big fan of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Moving in Stereo, during the iconic scene with Judge Reinhold and Phoebe Cates. This album is just stacked with classics and great band. I mean, they just got better too. It's a shame Benjamin Orr died so young, because it would have been nice to see them get together and do a few more things. I mean, Rick Ocasek was around for a while. We only lost him a few years ago. Elliot Easton's still around. Great guitar player. The Cars were great. They were a staple of my youth, especially from 78 on to the MTV era, because they were darlings of the MTV era as well. So you can't deny that. So that's my number 10, The Cars' debut album. My number 9, released on October 11th, 1978, Billy Joel's 52nd Street. Big Billy Joel fan. You'll probably see more of Billy Joel appear on this as things move forward. He's already been on some lists already. I mean, some of his early albums were meh. Piano Man was good, the first album, and some of the other ones were eh. But this is where he started to gain steam with the Stranger, which we already mentioned, and now 52nd Street. Great songs on here. Big staples on the radio to this day with My Life and Big Shot, Honesty, Zanzibar, Rosalind's Eyes. Sound stacked with another great group of songs. I mean, you kind of gotta love Billy Joel. He's everybody from every genre tends to love Billy Joel because his songs are just timeless, and I enjoy just listening to them all the time. They're great sing-along songs. I mean, I've been at parties where people put on like the best of that double disc best of Billy Joel, and everybody knows every song. So that's where Billy Joel fits into this. He's just like every person's person. You just all know the songs. You love it. I mean, for Christ's sake, he's been playing Madison Square Garden every month for how many years now? And still fills it. And of course, I've still never gotten there. And I think he just finally ended it. I don't think he's doing it anymore. I should have went when I had my chance. But yeah, 52nd Street, great album. Still remember vividly getting it for Christmas. I don't think I got it in 78. I might have gotten it in 79 or 80. I didn't get my real first record player until around then. So, but that's my number 9. Billy Joel, 52nd Street. My number 8, released on January 20th of 78. This one's probably going to come out of left field for most people, but I love this album. Discovered it about 25, 30 years ago. The whole album, not the person. But my number 8 is Jerry Rafferty, City to City. This album is just fantastic. I mean, I was always a huge fan of the song Baker Street. Actually, my cover band back in the 90s, we did a Baker Street cover when we used to play all the local bars before the Foo Fighters did it. Dave Grohl stole that shit from me. I was the first one to do a cover of Baker Street because I love the song, love the guitar solo. It was just ripping guitar solo. So at the time, I really didn't know anything more about Jerry Rafferty other than the fact that he was in Steelers Wheel. I mean, Stuck in the Middle with You. Everybody knew that. But when I bought City to City and started listening to it, man, this album is just amazing. And he had such a tragic end. You know, he was an alcoholic and basically drank himself to death. It was such a shame, such talent. You got City to City is a great song on there. Right Down the Line is another one you hear on the radio a lot, especially like on satellite radio. Because anything you ever hear by that he's involved in is either Baker Street or you hear Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle with You. But go check this album out. City to City is really good. I put it on all the time. The Ark is a great song. It starts off with that. Just real good, straightforward rock and roll. And I always loved his voice, too. Rest in peace, Jerry Rafferty. And number 7, released on June 9th of 1978. Love this album from the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones, Some Girls. This, I remember loving the cover, man, because you could just see the cover with all the windows and everything on it. And it was just the weirdest cover. I know they had some issues with the original release because they had to put some celebrities on it and they got all up in arms about it. So I know they did change it. But Some Girls, great. I mean, standout hits like Beast of Burden, of course, Shattered, Miss You. So many great songs on this album that are staples to this day that are on radio all the time. And just really love this. And everybody calls it like the Rolling Stones disco album. It's not really disco. It's just maybe a little bit of a departure. I mean, because Beast of Burden, it's not really disco. Shatter's not really disco. It's almost more punkish, as far as I'm concerned, than disco-ish. I mean, I know everybody was falling in line with the disco albums in '78, like who else? Like Rod Stewart did the disco thing, and of course, big Kiss fan. But that wasn't until '79, and they caught the tail end of that. So I love this album. It's got great songs on it. Listen to it often. I don't have very many Stones albums. I mean, I have all the standards, like Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers. I have all the ones you're supposed to have, but this is definitely one that's in there that I really, really like. And there it lands. Great album. Stones, Some Girls. We come to number 6, released on October 6, 1978. Johnny Thunders' debut album, solo album, So Alone. Now, if you watch this channel, I've mentioned on several of these already with the 70s, I am a huge New York Dolls fan. I love the New York Dolls. I love Johnny Thunders. Love the Heartbreakers. Love everything he did. And So Alone, this album is just stacked. I mean, the condition he was in at the time to put an album together like this is a testament to how good he was at what he did. So he had great songs in here. Like the big breakout was "You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory," was the big hit. So Alone on there is good. Daddy Rolling Stone is great. If you love, I mean, it's actually an Otis Blackwell song. He didn't write it, but the cover of it's so great because he splits the vocals with Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, and he had this album stacked with a lot of celebrities. Like Steve Marriott was on there. Chrissy Hind appeared on there as well. There was a bunch of people that showed up and got on, probably backing vocals or some other stuff here and there. Ask Me No Questions, London Boys, which is to play off the Sex Pistols, who appeared on this anyway because he was friends with all them. I mean, they toured on the Anarchy tour, so I know Paul Cook and Steve Jones also appeared on it. So this album, great album. I mean, if you're a fan of the Dolls or just if you like the Heartbreakers, it's sort of almost like an extension of the Heartbreakers. So if you have never heard it and you dig that type of stuff, especially. It's actually much more of a departure than the Dolls. It really doesn't sound like the Dolls. It sounds more like the Heartbreakers. So if you like that stuff, if you haven't checked out So Alone, go check it out. Number 5, released on November 28th of '78. Now we're going in the opposite direction from Johnny Thunders to the blues, baby. Blues Brothers. Briefcase Full of Blues. Another one here if you watch this channel. I'm a huge John Belushi fan. Huge Blues Brothers fan. Love it to death. I just recently was in Chicago for the first time. Had to make a pilgrimage to 1060 West Addison, Elwood's home, which is actually Wrigley Field. So, a big Blues Brothers fan, big fan of the original Saturday Night Live, and diehard fan of John Belushi. So, this album is just great. You don't have to be a blues fan to like this because it's so much fun here. I mean, the big hit on the album, what obviously was Soul Man, because that's what they started playing when they created the characters on Saturday Night Live. But there's so much other stuff on here, like B-Movie Boxcar Blues, Flip Flop and Fly, Hey Bartender. This right here is my cover band that I play on the weekends with a couple of friends, and we play Hey Bartender all the time because we're in a bar, and it's a great tune. Messing with the Kid on there, and you have Dan Aykroyd as Elwood Blues doing Rubber Biscuit, which you hear a lot on like the 70s channel on Sirius. It's great. You don't have to be a fan of the blues to still love this, because the Blues Brothers was so much fun, and I just love this album top to bottom. It's a perfect album because you have Steve Cropper, you have Donald Duck Dunn, Matt Guitar Murphy. You had the horn section that was basically from that was on Saturday Night Live. The band itself is just unbelievable, and if you love the album, just go watch the movie too, because they're all in the movie with them too, and they pretty much had parts in the film, and the Blues Brothers is to this day one of my favorite films. So love me, the Blues Brothers, love me, Briefcase Full of Blues. Number 4, released on October 8th of 78. Now this is if you're of my age group, you like classic rock, this is an essential to have in everybody's collection. Cheap Trick at Budokan. You have to have this in your collection. I mean, you can hear the same songs probably played day in and day out on classic rock radio. I mean, Surrender, you'll hear that all the time. But this is such a great album, and it's real special to me. It was me and my friends loved it. Remember when we all got our license? We all had to make sure we had it. We used to crank it all the time in the car. It's just, and if you ever listen to the regular versions of these on their studio albums, it's so much different. Like Surrender is kind of a snooze fest when it's not the version from Cheap Trick of Budokan. And I Want You to Want Me sounds almost completely different. Budokan is the way to go. And there was a lot of great stuff on there too. They do a cover of was a Fence Domino, Ain't That a Shame on there. It's real good. They always did their intro, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and good night now, ladies and gentlemen, which is cool the way they always opened and started the shows back in the day. I only got to see Cheap Trick once. I saw Cheap Trick once. They opened up for Robert Plant on the Now and Zen tour, and they were great. Oh, God, they were so good. But other songs here, like Big Eyes, Clock Strikes 10, there's a lot of other songs on here other than what you hear on the radio. So if you've never heard Budokan, man, go get it. I can probably pick it up in a used bin somewhere real cheap, because it's just, there's a plethora of it out there. Go get it and check it out. You'll be glad you did. Now going to the other side of the spectrum again. Released on February 10th, 1978, 4 days after my birthday. Judas Priest, Stained Class. Yes. Judas Priest is going to appear a lot on these lists going forward, especially when we move into the 80s as well too. But the 70s version of Priest is my favorite. I mean, yeah, you had Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith in the 80s, which is fantastic. Even now, moving into this era with Firepower, I love all that stuff. But I don't know, man, there's something raw and stripped down about the 70s version of Priest that I just love. Songs like Invader, Exciter, the song Stained Class, or the song everybody probably knows off of this album, Better By You, Better By Me, because that was the song that was a big controversy over at the time in the 80s. If you guys of my age group remember the guy, the kids that tried to kill themselves, and they said they were listening to Better By You, Better By Me, because it said the words made them kind of, they always tried to blame them. They did the same thing with Ozzy, where the song told me to kill myself, like Suicide Solutions. Like, seriously? You have other issues going on if you're going to listen to a song and kill yourself over it. But that was the bit, and it's a great song too. And I know they've poo-pooed the song all these years because of what became of it, and I don't blame them for that. But if you listen to it, it's a great song. But Stained Class, great album. Priest just got better and better with every album when they started in the 70s, and they just got better and better over the years. It's just crazy. After nearly 50 years now, they're doing what they're doing, and it's just crazy shit. So Stained Class, great album. All right, my number 2, released on May 5th of 1978. One of my favorite bands of all time, and this is one of my favorite albums by them. ACDC, Power Age. I remember winning this album on the Keensburg Amusement Park boardwalk back in the day. Back when you had the spinners and you put a quarter down, And I remember winning Power Rage like it was yesterday and falling in love with this album. It's the same thing, just like I sort of mentioned before, man. It's just stripped down, great raw rock and roll. Yeah, I mentioned before, some people are Bon Scott guys, some people are Brian Johnson guys. I love them both, but man, I love me some Bon Scott, especially on this album too. Rock and Roll Damnation, Sin City's probably the best song on the album in my opinion. You have Kicked in the Teeth Again, Gone Shootin'. Oh, there's just so many great songs on this album, and it's just stripped down, and it's just it's a perfect album. It's probably, I don't know, I have to, between this and Highway to Hell, I have to say my favorite AC/DC albums. But yeah, it's one of those things that on a day-to-day basis, one day it could be Power Rage, one day it could be Highway to Hell. They're my favorite albums by AC/DC. But yeah, Power Rage, fantastic, stripped down, raw rock and roll. And my number one, released on the same day as Judas Priest Stained Glass, February 10th, 1978, 4 days after my birthday, 4 days after my 6th birthday, to be exact. The album of all albums that kicked off my love of this man. Van Halen. The debut album from Van Halen exploded on the scene because Eddie Van Halen's guitar work, David Lee Roth's vocals, Michael Anthony's bass and backing vocals, Alex Van Halen's drums. This album blew me away when we first heard it, my brother and I. The guitar player, obviously, like I said, playing a band, and went through a severe Eddie Van Halen phase, and top to bottom, tried to play everything on this, right down to Eruption. I remember sitting in my room practicing, trying to get that tapping down right, and trying to get Eruption right, trying to get the You Really Got Me down, the solo in that, trying to get Ain't Talking About Love, The One You Love. Love that riff. Can't Wait to Feel Your Love Tonight. Oh, God, Feel Your Love Tonight. What a great riff. And the sound, the Brown sound. This is where it was born. And that chunky tubey sound that Eddie Van Halen was so famous for. But this album, there's not a bad. Every song on it is something you hear on the radio. Every single song. It's influenced countless of guitar players like myself, countless people to want to be in a band, or countless people to be a crazy frontman like David Lee Roth, but this had to be at the top of the list. There was no other way. This album, I listen to it all the time. Still, when I'm practicing, still do some Eddie Van Halen stuff. I still cannot believe I'm here at the age of 52, almost 53, in the year 2024, and there's no Van Halen because he's dead. Who in their right mind ever would have thought he would have died that young? I never in a million years would have thought that. And that was one of the, next to Stevie Ray Vaughan, that was probably my biggest loss in the music, as far as musician. Because Stevie Ray Vaughan, huge fan of his, that killed me back in 90 when he died. And Eddie Van Halen going, that broke my heart too. That's just like a whole part of my youth gone. And just crazy shit. But not to get sentimental, these are supposed to be fun. But that's my number one. What more can I say? Van Halen. I don't know if anybody could even argue with that. 1978 debut album. That's my top 10, my favorite 10 from 1978. Again, I like to mix it up, a little eclectic mix. Like I said, if you're a fan of Kiss, I'm a Kiss fan, so I have a lot of Kiss fans that do watch this. Go watch my ranking of the solo albums. I just left them off this list. I figured let's keep the 10 spots to something different. So that is it. I'll be back probably after the first of the year. And we'll close out the 70s with my top 10 albums of 1979, which is going to be, it might be a tough one because I don't remember all that many great albums coming out in 79. I really don't. I mean, as I do a little bit more research and go through my CDs and my vinyl, I'll figure it all out. But after the first year, we'll be back with that. And then we're going to move into the 80s. The 80s should be interesting. 80s is going to be a lot of fun, and we'll just work our way up until there's nothing left that I listen to anymore, because I haven't really listened to anything good in the last 10, 15 years, because music kind of sucks right now. I guess I've become that old guy, like my parents, didn't want to listen to anything new either. So, but I'm rambling at this point. Hope you enjoyed this. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Helps people find this channel. Do some more music stuff. If you're a Kiss fan, I do a lot of Kiss stuff on here. And if obviously this is a horror channel, because I'm a Halloween guy, come by and check it out. And if you haven't subscribed to that subscribe button, don't cost nothing. Come back and hopefully you'll enjoy some other content on this channel. But until then, Next video will probably be out after the first of the year. Everybody have a great holiday season. Everybody have a happy, healthy new year. And I'll see you in 2025. Later.